TNA, 2006 to 2009. I was blaming, for quite some time, I blamed Jeff Jarrett for Vince Russo being there. In hindsight, I think he did bring some attention to Russo and gave him some credibility in the past to where people would actually think that he knew what the fuck he was doing. Russo, I mean. But now we know it was more Dixie, because Dixie was somehow, Shitstain does have the talent of convincing people that don't know anything about the wrestling business that he knows something about the wrestling business. That's pretty much the only thing he's ever been successful at. So Jeff Jarrett had asked me to come in and work with Dutch Mantell. This sounds familiar. And then up pops fucking Shitstain. And I tried to quit at that point. That was 3 months in 2006. And Jeff and Dutch would not accept my resignation. I said, this will not end well. I said, it'll be okay. And we managed to make it work for 3 years until, once again, Jeff's gone. Then when Jeff's gone, then all of a sudden, Shitstain, because he is such a notorious backstabber, and now after lawsuits and things, all the emails have come out to prove everybody right, how he was knocking Jeff behind his back to Dixie, knocking me behind my back, knocking everybody, because that's what he does. Then the emails have proved it. Jeff was gone. Then Road Dogg was gone. Then Savio Vega was gone. Then Dutch was gone. Well, at that point, I really didn't want to go back to begin with, but then Jeff Jarrett calls me on the phone and says, well, you're the only one left. And he basically asked me to take care of his company for him and make sure that the fucking idiot didn't go too far and fuck the whole thing up. So out of a sense of loyalty, I go one last time to the fucking TV tapings. Actually, and I still, to this day, I'd like to cut my fucking hand off, shook hands with the fucking guy for the only time since 1999 and said, the team is in need and I will help you. And 2 weeks later, Terry Taylor calls me up and fires me. Just like they'd got Dutch and Savio and Rudy Charles, the referee, everybody Jeff brought in. And then, as a matter of fact, there was once again when Terry calls me up, I'm like, you know what? I am over this. There is the last thing that anybody needs is for me to be in a fucking room with Vince Russo with no Jeff Jarrett and no Dutch Mantell to begin with. So that's fine. I ain't going to go on a crusade knocking you guys, and we part friends. And the very next fucking morning, there is the goddamn article in the Sun, but back before all these fucking... this was before Twitter, right? And before, Dixie had a source in the Sun that she could feed shit to. And the Sun in London said, Jim Cornette fired for unprofessional outburst, screaming at Vince Russo. And as I've mentioned before, if I had had an outburst where I screamed at Vince Russo, not only would you have heard about it, but wouldn't I have been the first one to fucking recount it word for word? And I called Terry Taylor. I said, Terry, what the fuck is this? I don't know. We've got these leaks. Leak? It didn't happen. We were in a production meeting where Terry Taylor, and we've since made up because Terry was friends with his fucking buddy. And also he didn't have a lot of balls and wouldn't stand up to fucking Dixie and tell her the truth. But I'm not going to be mad at him now all these years later, but it's true. Terry Taylor, I said to him, you said to me as head of talent relations that in production meetings, it was us and we would get a united front and me and Vince would work out whatever we had going on and we would all decide what we were going to do and then we'd go do it. And we were a united front to the talent. At the production meeting in question at the last TV tapings, did or did not I asked Vince Russo why he had changed this finish in this match from what he had talked to me on the phone. The first time I talked to him on the phone in 15 years. What we had talked about and agreed on the phone on my way down here 2 days ago. And now it's changed and I think it's ridiculous. And it's going to bury Sting and it's going to bury Hernandez. And we shouldn't be having this match anyway, but here's how we can get out of it. And let's do this. And everybody agreed on it. And we did it. And then suddenly I was screaming at Vince Russo and I was unprofessional. It sounds to me like the people, Terry, that were unprofessional were the people who were making shit up out of the production meeting to make Vince Russo sound like a babyface, and they had no other choice but to get rid of me because they had not revealed yet, Brian, as you will recall, that the real reason I had to go was because Vince was so overworked. It was such stressful work for him and so hard for him to do those television shows and fuck them all up to that extent and bury all that talent all by himself that he was bringing in Ed Ferrara. And Ed Ferrara wouldn't be there in the same room with me, nor if I would be with him if I had known of his coming presence. Because I spit in Ed Ferrara's face for making fun of Jim Ross's Bell's palsy several years before. So that's what, and they had to put the fucking story in the Sun to make it sound like they had no other choice but to get rid of me. And I told Terry Taylor, I want a retraction. Do you think Dixie will have a problem doing this since it didn't take place? He said, no, I'm sure she will. I said, very good. The next day, the retraction came as an unnamed source had said that Cornette was fired for screaming at Vince Russo. Another unnamed source, not with Dixie Carter's name on it, not an official statement, said, no, that's not true. So that's when I called Terry Taylor up and said, Terry, gave you all a chance to do this. Now I'm going to be defending myself, and I'm going to be telling people exactly what the fuck happened and exactly what the fuck I think, which I have been doing ever since, because they had a chance and they couldn't do it because Dixie was a gutless cunt and wrapped around fucking Vince Russo's finger, and Terry had no balls and just wanted a job because he had pissed off a lot of people. And apparently he didn't want to go into Terry Taylor business. So he couldn't tell her what the truth was because she wasn't there. So that's when I started knocking TNA. So we do have an official one in the fired column, and we do have an official one in the fuck you column, but with cause.